My grandmother is Vietnamese. My mother is half Vietnamese, and it makes me a quarter Vietnamese. And I like to go by a Asian American, Vietnamese American, biracial player. But Vietnam is the relationship is really strong, and it's a part of my heritage. I am Mailee Jones, and I play on the Vietnamese women's national basketball team.
Welcome to the Vietnamese. I'm your host, Kenneth Nguyen. Being part of a culture of nearly 100 million Vietnamese people in the world today comes with a lot of pain, proud history, and privilege. Join me as I highlight and explore the Vietnamese experience from all over the world.
I didn't play basketball first. That wasn't my first sport. It was swimming. I really love to swim. But since my dad's a professional basketball trainer, I was just always around basketball. But I was like, no, I want to go to the pool. And so I do remember I was 5 turning 6. And I was at one of my dad's sessions. And I remember sitting on the baseline while he was training. And I said, I was like wondering to myself, I said, I know like I can do this. I said, how come he doesn't train me? He trains all these other kids, but not me. But, I was 5 years old. So little at the time that I know, right. He was wanting me to do what I wanted to do, not forcing me to play basketball, just see where it kind of leads to my life. So eventually I asked him, and now I'm on the national team. So just been working at it. I eventually quit swimming and I just do basketball now.
I think that's a very wise move on your dad's part to not force you or encourage you early on. Because I think it turns a lot of kids off, right?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I see some kids today, at my dad's basketball camps and clinics and private training. And you can tell like they don't want to play basketball. And it's even worse when they admit it. So, oh, well, my parents are making me da 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 da. So it kind of makes it harder because they're like, it's not in their heart. I asked some kids, I said, well, what do you want to do? Oh, I like soccer. I'm always just outside kicking the ball. And I was like, okay, maybe it's time to play soccer. You really got to follow your heart in life. That's really the biggest thing.
What does being Vietnamese mean to you today?
Oh my gosh, it means so much to me. The sacrifice that went on from before, and to be able to be at this stage, to really go back and see how things have changed and see how Vietnam is progressing. That really means a lot to me. And to really put a smile on my grandmother's face, my Bang Wai, that makes me really happy, especially when we get to go back together and we get to take pictures in our Ao Dai. We get to travel all over Saigon and see her family in the village. So it really means a lot to me.
Did you grow up with your Bang Wai, or did she live in Vietnam and you just visited her in the early years?
No, I actually lived with my Bang Wai because my parents, we lived with our grandparents. So my Bang Wai was in the US. And we lived for them for, oh gosh, maybe about 5 years before we moved out, and my parents got their own house because my dad was still playing professional basketball. So because he was traveling all over Europe playing, I just stayed with my mom and my Bang Wai and my grandfather at their house. And so for the longest, my Bang Wai, she would, babysit me because my mom had to work. My grandfather had to work and she was at home. So yeah, we're like this, we're really close.
How do we, as people who are professional, who we're going after the things that we love, how do we stay on that track, that heart track with our profession? Because I know it gets hard, right? How do we stay in it?
It definitely gets hard. Yeah, it definitely gets hard. And I think you just hit it right. You just really said it there. It's love. When you think about like little things, when you love a cupcake, you'll bust your butt anyway to go get that cupcake. No matter what, the grocery store is full. They don't have your flavor. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. So you're trying other options. And that's similar to professional sports. There's days where it gets really, really hard. You're like, oh my God, how did I do this? But it's the fact that you love what you do that helps you get up every single day and you move past those obstacles. So, when we're in training camp and I'm like, oh my goodness, I said, I'm just sore. My body hurts. but it's that love that I have for the game of basketball that helps me get through those obstacles, because there's definitely days where I'm like, I just need a break, go for a walk, or, just do something different, go get some coffee, or, go outside by the pool, you just have those little breaks here and there. But it's really, like you said, when you love something, you'll do anything for it.
When you say take a break, you only mean like hours, right? You don't mean like a day or a week off from the sport. You mean just
No, I mean, I don't mean a week. A week is probably right after the season, because it's very important for your body to recuperate. That's like the biggest thing. I've never taken like a month. It's never been a month. Maybe a day or two, because when you have that day or two and you don't do any of the sport that you play, or anything that you're used to, or your routine, or what you're doing that you love, it really just helps you refocus your body, your mind, your spirit, your emotions. And then when you come back, you're just a lot fresher. So it's definitely really important to take those 1 or 2 days here and there. I definitely wouldn't do it very often. I don't like to do it very often. But definitely I can see sometimes where I'm on the court or I'm training and I'm like, something is just not clicking. And I said, okay, it's time for a break.
you
Right.
cross train in any other sports?
I don't. The closest thing I would say to cross train that I do is meditation to the Buddha Bible. My grandmother, my bangwai, she would play the Buddha Bible on YouTube. And I'd ask her, I'm like, what are they saying? What is this about? And she said she likes to do this just to meditate. And she's not the, traditional back straight, yoga position of meditation. For her, it's just sitting down, listening to the Buddha Bible, taking deep breaths, closing your eyes, one breath in, one breath out, and just take it step by step. And that's really what I like to include now. So, I definitely did this in training camp. I had a day off. And so I said, okay, I'm going to do the Buddha Bible. So I turned off all the lights and I played it on the speaker, and I just relaxed. I didn't sit up straight or anything. I was just in perfect relaxation mode. And that's probably the closest I'll get to cross training, but it's definitely, it refocuses your mind. Let's say you can't, you still have practice, and you just can't really get away from it, but you need that break. It's definitely a good quick fix, where you're like, okay, I feel pretty good. Let's get this day started.
When you were younger and you were starting basketball, at what point do you really lock in and you go, okay, this is something that I really love and I'm going to really go all out? Or was it a gradual progression for you?
I think it was a gradual progression. And the only reason why I say that is because I started really young. And I felt like I had raw talent as an athlete, because growing up, I would play golf and I played tennis. And so, and I did that because I love the atmosphere of tennis. I still do. Not good at the sport. Definitely don't love the sport, but, just the atmosphere of being in it, just hitting a couple balls here and there. Golf, I got into it because of my dad. My dad and I were really, really close. My dad's my coach, trainer, mentor, father, everything. And so when he started playing golf, I was like, oh, I want to play golf. And so then when I found out he really wasn't going to be my trainer, then I didn't want to play anymore. But I still go out and hit a little bit. And I took some lessons when I was younger, but I didn't really start to understand how much I loved basketball until I was in middle school, because there would be times where it was a rough day. There was a lot of homework. My dad, he's being so hard on me on the court, but being a father at home. And I'm just like, how am I going to get through this? But the fact that I was able to understand that, really process that in my mind, that's when I knew I loved the game of basketball, because no matter what, I was still able to get up and go to the gym and still work at it, knowing that, my father's going to be hard on me. I'm going against the boys. I really got to bring it. And so that's when I knew I loved it, when I was in middle school.
I always ask this with people who are professionals, like how much of it is talent and how much of it is just raw energy, mindset, putting your heart and soul into practicing?
I think talent has the least amount of input when it comes to being an athlete, professional athlete. I think everything else is heart, is how bad you want it, and it's the work ethic. And that work ethic comes inside of you, your heart. How bad are you willing to go out and get it? How bad are you willing to do a workout in the rain, in the snow, when it's just boiling hot outside? How far will you go mentally to just put your body through the extreme, so when you do get out on the field or on the court, then it's just easy for you. Those measures definitely come into hand, and those mindsets, those mental obstacles and challenges that you face within yourself and that you're able to get through, is how you separate yourself from other athletes. A lot of people don't understand that, because they do their workouts, they go to practice, and like, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
But you see other athletes, they're going to practice, they're going to their workouts, then they're going to their private workouts, and they're doing their own workouts by themselves, that they needed no motivator or nothing. They just got up and did it. And that's when you kind of see the greatness versus some average players here and there.
But that takes a lot, doesn't it? That takes a lot of faith in
it does. But I've always said, if you love what you do, then it's not going to be hard for you. Of course, you're going to have hard days. That's just life. But if you love what you do, you'll definitely find a way to just make the most out of it, is the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
I've definitely had some rough days, and I'm like, how am I going to get through this? But it's, just getting, okay, no, let me just go. Let me just keep fighting through it. And that adversity, that perseverance inside of me is what keeps me going.
All right. So let's dig into this whole soccer versus basketball. Culturally,
okay,
soccer is a major thing in Vietnam.
For sure.
And basketball is a fairly new thing, or what's the relationship between, if there is even a relationship between the ratio of basketball and soccer? I think what I'm asking is, is basketball growing in Vietnam? How, what's the development look like against soccer?
Oh my gosh. Well, for one, like you said, soccer is way up there,
Yeah.
But basketball is definitely growing, and it's growing at a fast rate in Vietnam. From definitely what I've seen, I've been to Vietnam a while. And what I see is there's so many kids that watch, the NBA and, what goes on with LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, may he rest in peace. But, they watch those videos and those YouTube videos. And as a Asian American, I can, and I've, been raised in the States. And so I can tell when I see some YouTube video basketball drills. But it's the fact that they even look up those drills on YouTube for basketball, and they try and go apply it, and I think Vietnam is really good about, they use what they have to like their best advantage. They're outside and the hoop is maybe like 4 feet tall. They're still trying to work on their game and go score, I think that's really cool. Or like, in America, they're like, oh, it's 4 feet tall, I'm not gonna do nothing. I want to go to a gym. But, they really make the best out of it. And I think that's, why Vietnam is growing at a fast rate. And, the Vietnam Basketball Association, the Professional Basketball League in Vietnam, VBA, they're growing. And each year it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. They're starting to get more attention from the US, where American players are coming to Vietnam to play. And that's definitely going to help the development of the Vietnamese local players or heritage players. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really excited about the VBA, but definitely soccer is up there. When the soccer game is on, like, the city just shuts down.
Yeah.
I mean, where I stay in Vietnam, in Saigon, District 1, I'm not far from Queen Way Street, and that whole street will just shut down. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on? But I think basketball will eventually get to the level of soccer. I just don't think it will beat the level of soccer, just because soccer has been there for so long. That's the tradition, that's the sport. If you want to play a sport, you're going to play soccer. Where the States is a little bit different. You have football, you have volleyball. I don't think basketball is the number one sport in America. I do think it's football, and then I think it's baseball, volleyball, and then basketball, somewhere around there. It's just kind of equal here and there, but it's definitely growing in Vietnam. It's definitely growing, and I could see definitely 5 to 10 years, it's going to be pretty big.
You know, a constraint that I think about with soccer versus basketball is height, right?
Mm,
The height
yeah,
of a
yeah,
basketball player. I mean, there's not many Vietnamese that are like tall for the most
right,
part to really make a
right,
dent in the sport of basketball in Vietnam. But I think in soccer, you don't have to be a certain height. I think even the
right.
shorter might even be more. I don't know, more advantageous
No,
because
that definitely makes sense. Yes, yes, because I don't know too much about soccer. I played when I was little, but I always wanted to use my hands and I couldn't do that. So
yeah,
I said, I don't want to play this sport. But that quickness, and that's where shorter people get, they're more quick than
hmm
taller people. Taller people just, they're long for basketball. They take up more
right.
space. They're probably going to be a very a great defensive player. Um, I would say in Vietnam, we have a couple tall guys, not so much girls. In the States, you hear like a 6'5" point guard. You're like, oh
Yeah.
man, But yeah, they're tall. But if I were to compare them, how they would survive at Division 1 level in the States, I think they would be okay. I think they have to learn a little bit more skill set, but definitely for Vietnam, they can be so dominant. But like you said, with height, the Vietnamese, average Vietnamese person is probably, pretty short.
hmm
But I would say for me, because I'm a short player, I'm not very tall when it comes to basketball. I've always said height never mattered to anybody.
Right.
It's just how bad do you want it, And so you see, I know a couple of players that are on the national team. I'm like, wow, he works so hard. He's not very tall, but he's quick and he'll do anything to get the basketball, anything to protect the basketball and get the basketball, and most importantly, win the game. And that can really take you a really, really far way. Yes, talent can get in the way a little bit because you do have to have a skill set, to really, really separate yourself. But for the most part, they work so hard, and that's one thing I've always appreciated about the Vietnamese basketball culture is that they'll do anything to get it. They're gonna work hard, they're gonna run, they're gonna get stronger. And I think what as Vietnam basketball, what it can get better at is bringing in players or coaches that can help with the development. And what I mean by development is skill set, which is talent. They already have the work ethic. That's already there. That's never going to be taken away. But now we need to take that work ethic and develop it to talent. And now we're competing at the top, with other Asian countries.
Let's talk about work ethic because you brought that up. How much of a difference is there in the work ethic of a young American girl and a young Vietnamese girl? Is there a difference or it's kind of the same?
I would say a American girl, it's not, let me, how do I want to put this? I would say an American girl, an American or Vietnamese, girl, the work ethic is about the same. It's not until they get to maybe, I would say like teenager, then you start to see the difference, because I think when you're so young, you're just finding yourself. You don't know what you want to do. You're just
hmm
like, oh, let me do this or let me try this. Oh, I definitely don't like that, but I really like this, or it's really fun. No, I love this, those different. But I think as you get older, and I've always, because I've traveled all over the world, and the American mentality is you just keep working at it. You just keep going, keep going, keep going until you do not stop, until you get it, And so I would say the American mentality is what really a lot of people chase, A lot of people want that American dream. They want to come to the States. They want that American dream. What a lot of people fail to realize is it's really just work ethic. And if you keep working at it, you're going to get it. Like it's when you study. When you keep studying, you're going to get it right, because you just keep going. And so I would really say the American woman can have that work ethic where, it's just constant work ethic, work ethic, work ethic. I think with Vietnamese women, it's more about discipline. They're going to be disciplined a lot longer than American women because It's all about, okay, if I have to keep doing the same thing every single day, I'm going to keep doing the same thing every single day because that's what I've been told to do. That's what my heart knows. Where American woman's like, I'm going to keep doing the same thing every day, but if it's not going to work out, I'm going to find something else. You see that difference there. And so that's something that I've definitely understood just traveling so much. And, I've always liked to surround myself around inspiring women that will do anything in this world to get what they want, to be successful. They're not going to stop until they get it, respectfully and professionally, not just out here being reckless. That's definitely not something I support, but professionally and, kindly doing your part to be the best that you can be for yourself and for your family, and that representation. That's what I like to be around. That's what inspires me to be the best. And what I see the most is work ethic. When I'm around these women, they just work at it. They're not going to take a break. They're not going to rely on anybody, but they're going to make sure that they get this done.
Yeah, that's a interesting distinction. What about teamwork? How much teamwork is happening, sort of, because I know like the American sports tradition, there's so much emphasis on working together. And, in Vietnam, I don't know much about sports, and I admit that all the time, but, is that culture developed? Is it something that is apparent yet?
Oh, for sure. There's definitely a lot of teamwork when it comes to, I see it in soccer in Vietnam, but definitely in Vietnamese basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there is definitely a lot of teamwork. It's a lot of, you got to pass to make the right shot, and sometimes that's really good, especially in basketball. That's really good. However, there are times where a defense of scheme can really just, overplay that and just like, no, that's not how this is going to work. We're going to dictate how this is going to go, and kind of force you to play some one-on-one basketball. And one-on-one basketball is so big in America. It is just unreal.
What do you mean by that? Like one-on-one, which means like there's a team, but there's usually one-on-one like in the game?
There's a team. So like for basketball, there's a team and you're supposed to play, together as a team.
Right.
But there's this one person that's just like, no, I want to do it all by myself.
In
I don't
America.
know what y'all are talking about. Right, in America. And it's those, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but it's those athletes that just think they just have it made, and it's like, oh no, this is how I have to do it. I have to take 18 dribbles, or I have to be in one spot, and I'm just going to take it all by myself. No matter who is open or no matter who is helping me, I have to do it all by myself. And that's like, no, that's not what it is. But I think definitely the Asian basketball culture, not just in Vietnam, they have more of that teamwork. We have to work as a team to get the best shot.
It's an issue of ego, I think, right?
For sure. Yeah. Yes.
And I think Americans are much more individually driven, much more ego driven, right? I can say that because I'm, I grew up here and born and raised. We have that, and I don't know, for better or for worse. That's what we culturally, we're just defined that way, right? But also, I've been, obviously in Vietnam all these years, and it's not like that. Yeah. The ego is not. Yeah, it's just not.
It's
like
not
that.
there. Yeah, there's no ego, and that's where I just mentioned the discipline.
Yeah,
you're just being so disciplined to play as a team, where they're like, that American mentality, that culture is, it's work ethic, but it's like, look, I built this from the ground up, so I want all the credit. That's really where that that ego comes in, where it's like, and Vietnam is what I see a lot. I was like, oh, well, she did all the work, I was like, she's not getting no credit. Everybody's going to get the credit, but they're all okay with it, and that's what it is. That's being humble. That's being, look, this is a team sport, so we're all going to take the credit, not just me because I made the last shot, not just me because I got the team going. No, it's a team effort, and it's a team reward. When we lose, we all lose. When we win, we all win, And so that's where I really love how the Vietnam basketball culture is developing into teamwork.
Okay, but be honest with me. There's got to be something to the star culture, right? That one player or the team who wants to be that one star, if everybody wants to be that one star, they're probably working a lot harder
For
to
sure.
score, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
is
Oh,
that
yes.
fire, that missing fire, that ego that drives that one star player, or all five guys who want to be the star, is it missing in a Vietnamese basketball team? I'm just asking an honest question.
Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right. And if you watch the VBA, and for those who are watching this, if you watch the VBA, you see a lot of that one-on-one ego from the heritage players. You don't really see them from the local players, because the local players grew up in Vietnam playing Vietnam basketball. But the heritage players, they grew up, in the West, in either Canada or the States, and were that American, mentality on how you play, that ego, that's instilled inside them because that's what they grew up and that's what they've learned. And so when they bring it over to the VBA, they're trying to do their own thing. And here and there, it does work. Definitely, it does work. But I would say for it to really work, if you want to have an ego, if you want to have, no, like, I work my butt off for this. I want all the reward. I want this. I want that. You have to go about it in a different way to the local players. Because if you just kind of jump in and have that American mentality, they already have that expectation that you're from the States. So you have to be like Michael Jordan. And if you don't play like Michael Jordan, you're bad, And that's not what it is. People don't understand. God only made one Michael Jordan.
Mm.
They didn't make, these other Michael Jordans. But you have to go about it in a very professional way. And what I mean by professional way is including the local players, including that local talent within your American ego. And it's not easy. It is not easy because they have this expectation for you as a heritage player that grew up in America playing American basketball. And so it can get very frustrating, but if you do it the right way, it's very rewarding, because then you make the local players feel so powerful, feel so, oh my goodness, I can do this. I can be that ego player. I can be that player that makes all the shots. I can be that player that every time she does this or she does that, then I make it. You give them confidence. And so, but the very important thing, you have to go about it the right way.
I wonder if a man can think about this. It's like women have this sort of empathy, right?
Yes,
I'm sitting here.
Yeah, you have this this
I'm
emotion.
listening to you going, this is only a woman can think like this, like you're empathetic
Right.
to.
And I always believe that anything is possible. So when someone tells me, oh, it's not possible, like, I'm already like, okay, well, I'm up for the challenge. Let me prove to you that it is possible. I've always believed that if something is impossible, then it shouldn't even be thought of. It shouldn't even enter your mind.
Yeah.
But when someone says, oh no, it can't be done, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna prove that it can be done. And especially in Vietnam, I feel like a lot of them, they have what it takes, but it's just believing in themselves. And believing in yourself, that has a little bit to do with ego. You got to
Totally.
like, hey, look, I can do this.
Yep.
There's that confidence. There's like a lot of players, that I've, seen or played with in Vietnam, like, no, I can't do it. I'm like, what? Like that vocabulary just like doesn't enter my mind, And I said, no, you can do it. I said, look, you're doing it right now. And so they're like, oh yeah, I am, but just trying it, I'm just like, you can do this. I know you can. And so it's just how you approach, that Vietnamese basketball culture is just so important. I talked about this with Christian Juzang, who was a heritage player in the VBA. And I said, the approach is so important. When you're coming from America, playing American basketball, and coming to Vietnam, playing Vietnam basketball, the approach has to be so important, because if it's not, then you're already looked at as an American.
Yeah.
You're not really seen as a Vietnamese American. You're seen as an American because that's where you grew up, and that's fine. That's where you learn. That's where you learn your math, your basic skills,
Yeah.
Your basic basketball skills. So it's respectable and it's understandable, but it's if you approach it the right way, to where you include all of the local talent in with your ego, then the reward is going to be a lot bigger. It's definitely a dynamic that can be complex, but it's definitely possible.
Sounds very complex. Now, let me ask you this, though.
Yeah.
Do you make it sort of a mission to infuse some of that ego driven, because a healthy
Oh,
ego
for
might,
sure.
yeah.
For sure. Because I want my teammates, I want them to feel that they can do this. I want them to feel that, like I tell the boys here when I play against them, when you pass it to me, it's going up. And not only is it going up, but it's going in.
Mm.
But it's that mentality. It's that, okay, look, I get up 500 made shots plus, not minimum is 500 made shots a day. So when I'm doing that, I have that confidence there. And so that I want to instill that into the girls that, look, no matter what, you can do this. The Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, they're having that ego. Like, look, I can do this. We've been doing this. And I want that to be, around with my teammates, because then it's going to be so much easier. It's not going to be a struggle. Losing is not going to be the norm. Now winning is going to be like, okay, no, every time we step on the court, we're going to win. And yes, you need some ego on the team, but you don't want too much, because if you have too much, then, you're going to explode. But you need some of that, because that's part of confidence. And that's really all it is, confidence and believing in yourself. And, if those girls can get that, I know COVID is really slowing things down. The country's on lockdown, but if girls can really get that, we could be so strong.
You mentioned other countries, Malaysia, Thailand, all those other countries. What's sort of like the basic ranking of the other countries for women's basketball?
For women's basketball in Southeast Asia, just Southeast Asia,
Yeah.
Philippines are at the top.
Okay.
And then it's kind of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia is making some noise. They made some noise this year. But yeah, it's really in that order. And it's,
And where's Vietnam?
it's sad Vietnam is, at the bottom, but
Okay.
I'm really hoping that I can go there and make a difference. Not being, okay, no, y'all need me. No, I need you guys. We need each other. That's the expectation. That's the mindset I want us to have. And that's the mindset I have for myself, that I need you and we need each other. It's not like, oh, Mailee needs this, or, it's one way or the other. No, we need each other. That's what's really important. And if I go about it that way, then I think we can be really, really good.
How long is it going to take to turn the team around, to go from you said at the very bottom? We're at the very bottom right now.
Second to last.
Second to
last. So we're at the bottom, but I wouldn't say the very, very bottom. Yeah.
How long will it take, and what does it take to kind of notch up?
Oh goodness. How long it would take? I really would say, I hope not long. But I think this upcoming SEA Games that we have, SEA Games 31 in Hanoi, I think we can do well. I think even medaling is definitely in the conversation. And for me, medaling is there, but
Wow.
that's just me. If everybody is
Yeah.
not on the same page, then, it's definitely not going to work. I want everybody to be on the same page. I want to lead by the example that, look, if we do this right, if we work hard and we're all on the same page, we're going to medal. And so I have the expectation for me of going for gold, because still, if I miss, there's silver and bronze, but I have to go for that. I have to have that in my mindset. And so how long it would take, I would like a 3-month training camp, but, I'm not the coach. I'm just a player.
Yeah.
I can really only give my suggestions, but there's definitely other things that, fall into hand about having a long training camp. And training camp is not intense all 3 months. You just can't do that. Your body's going to get really, really tired, especially for a 1.5 week long tournament. But I think in maybe a year or so, I think that's where we can actually get to the level of winning is the norm. Right now it's not the norm. Right now it's kind of like, well, what's going on? There's a little excitement because, we're getting a new coach for our national team. And so that excitement is building up.
Yeah.
Girls are working out, during the quarantine, the lockdown, girls are, finding ways to still keep their body in shape. So I think that excitement is there. And there's definitely some girls that, they'll do whatever it takes. And there's definitely some girls that are just like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just kind of here. They're just, that purpose is not really instilled inside them.
Right.
And so I think a year or so, And I think a year or so, we can start to see some progress, in our rankings. And that's what, you got to start somewhere when it
Yeah.
comes to that.
Can you tell me about this new awesome coach that you're talking about?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So the Vietnam women's national team for the basketball team, they're getting a new coach, and that coach is Coach David Jones. So as you can see, I borrowed his backdrop. David Jones Pro Training, which is right here, and that's his elite what am I trying to say? Institution or academy. And so he trains a lot of professionals. So he was offered the head coaching job for the 5-on-5 for the national team. And for those of you who don't know, Coach DJ is my father. So it really works out. It's really sweet. It's really fun. People are like, well, I don't know how the father and daughter is going to go. I think what people don't understand is, my father, we're really, really close. We've been close ever since birth. So everywhere my dad went, I had to go. And, there's been those challenges of girl dad and, where the dad is the coach of the daughter. And there's been a lot of, back and forth, and the daughter thinks she's right. And the dad's like, no, I'm right. We really didn't have a lot of that when I was growing up. And so I've definitely had a lot of daughters who were in my position where their father was their coach come and ask me about it. And I said, no, I didn't have that problem too much. I think when I was a teenager, maybe 15 or 14, maybe 3 times I was like, no, I'm right. He's like, did you forget I trained you? I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
What do you think? What do you think leads to that dynamic where you didn't have a lot of disagreements with your father as a coach?
For me, because I always knew he was trying to help me. I always knew that he was looking out for the best interests.
You don't think these other girls like these other girls that
I try to explain it to them, and I said, look, at the end of the day, he's your father. At the end of the day, you put basketball out of it, you take workouts out of it, you take practice out of it, he's your father. And I said, as a father, he loves you, and he's only looking out for your best interests. He's never going to look out for your worst interests. And because of that, that's where that clash comes in, because maybe she thinks she's right. He's like, no, I'm right. What are you talking about? And it really happens in those teenage years, because I see it now. And I was like, wow, there's like this one girl that comes to our gym sometimes, and her and her dad are just going at it. And I'm like, no. I said, look, he's just trying to help you. At the end of the day, he's just trying to help you. And my dad would always explain that to me. Always. He just always, ever since I was little, and he became my trainer and my coach, he always explained, look, I'm just trying to help you. At the end of the day, we take basketball out of it. I'm your father, and I love you, and I'll do anything for you. And when I really started to understand that, then there were times where I'm just so frustrated with him. I'm like, no, but I said this way. And I'm like, you know what, Mailee, he's just right. At the end of the day, he's just right. And what kind of helped me a little bit more is that my dad played professional basketball. So even if I try and challenge him, that level, he knows it, and he's put years in. So I see I've actually had some girls come up to me and they say, yeah, well, my dad just played in high school. Like, what does he know? And I'm like, but still, he's your father, and he is looking out for your best interest. Whether he looked it up on YouTube or read a book, he's still looking out for your best interests.
How do you think the team would take to your father? Because there's a different sort of culture of work ethics. There's a different sort of push from an American coach versus what they're used to.
Right. Well, the good thing is when I had training camp for the 2019 SEA Games in the Philippines, he actually came and did a couple practices. He coached a couple practices. So the girls they already really adjusted to him. Not completely, because they didn't do his difficult workouts. They did a couple, and like for me it was nothing, but for them they were like, oh. I said, yeah. I said, it's okay. I said, you're gonna be okay. But one thing about the team is they want to learn. That's what I've noticed with all of them. They want to learn new stuff. And what I mean by stuff is like just one-on-one moves, or the fundamentals of passing, the fundamentals of dribbling, different drills. And it's one thing to look on YouTube, but on YouTube, it's just so different. You know, I've always believed if it's on YouTube, then that information isn't as useful, because if it's really a valuable information, it's not going to be put out in the public. You have to go find that information. You have to go pay for that information.
Yeah.
And that value of that information is going to take you far. And so the girls, and, you know, my best friend Bit, she even told me, she said, when your dad was here, she said, I just cannot believe all the new stuff I was learning. She said, I've never learned this before. And she said, you know, when she goes and plays in the SEA Games, they put her as a post. And I'm like, she's maybe a little taller than me. And I was like, oh, wow. And she's like, because, you know, she's not a post player. And she understood that. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And she said, you know, because I'm a guard and I didn't really know how to do all these guard moves. And that's where that Vietnam is growing. But we need those players, those from the West that are Vietnamese American, that could come over, or those Americans that could come over and really, really develop those Vietnamese players.
What are these young women doing on the off time? Are they playing basketball full time? How are they getting financially through all this?
They play basketball full time, and the biggest thing I've seen is they do coaching. So they coach at like a school or like a gym, and that helps financially. And they play for a city team. So there's the national team, which is the country, and you play against other countries. And then there's a city team, which is only domestic, and you only play against other teams in Vietnam. So the competition level isn't quite like international level, but it's enough to keep you in shape, keep you in a good rhythm. That's what I would compare it as and say.
And the city teams, is it like a paid audience or paid people that come into to watch?
Yeah. Yeah. They get paid. They get paid a salary to play on the city team. The salary, I don't know what it is, but you know, they go and play in tournaments. They have like the national tournament, and the national tournament is, you know, I think they go to Nha Trang and they play, and it's all the cities in Vietnam play against each other. And then Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, they usually win. And so the name of the city is like TPHCMC, you know, which in other words for Saigon. But that team usually wins every year. They actually just lost the 3-on-3 not too long ago to Kenta, and Kenta is pretty talented as well. I know some girls on that team. Yeah. So they lost to, but it was 3-on-3, not 5-on-5. 5-on-5, I think they win it every year. 3-on-3, I think it can get a little bit more competitive, but Kenta beat the Saigon team.
So interesting to even hear Gung Ta in the same conversation as basketball, women's basketball, or you know, just basketball 3-on-3, right? And to think that a smaller town can overtake like a big city like that.
Right, exactly. And there's definitely talent in Kenta. There's talent in Hanoi. There's talent in Da Nang, Nha Trang. I mean, there's talent everywhere. Dalat, you know, but it's, you know, the fact of wanting to play at that high level, you know, play at that high level of the national team, or play at that high level even of the city team. You know, you really have to want it. And some girls, you know, they're just shy, and, you know, it's really the Vietnamese, you know, culture of, you know, I think of more females than males. You know, Vietnamese females are really shy. They're not really like, am I gonna go out and do it? Like, yeah, girl, come on. I'm like grabbing her hair, grabbing her hand. Yeah, let's go. You know, where they're, you know, just kind of shy. They take it step by step. They're like, oh, I'm not sure. What should I do? I'm like, no, you're coming with me. Let's go.
In your heart of hearts, what makes a champion? What makes an MJ? What makes a Kobe? What makes a LeBron?
Work ethic.
That's it. That's what separates
work. That's
those
all it
guys.
is. You just gotta work. You just gotta work. And you look at Michael Jordan. You look at Kobe Bryant. The reason why I don't say too much of LeBron James is not because of his career right now, but it's so much of at the time he just has that raw talent, you know. And I think no matter what, if you're a basketball player or basketball fan, you do have to respect LeBron James' talent. Okay, he can play. He can, you know. Is he GOAT status? I don't know. But you look at Kobe Bryant and you look at Michael Jordan. Their workouts are very similar. Their workout regimen is very, very similar. Not quite the same, because I think Kobe Bryant had a little bit more advanced technology than Michael Jordan, just because of the time. Right. You know, Kobe Bryant, you know, when he was in the NBA, there was rubber bands, you know, back then it was like a person stretching you, you know, just those, you know, just to that
small,
little
subtle differences. Yeah.
Right. Right. And, you know, they had a STEM, but, you know, STEM probably in MJ's day was, you know, maybe a really, really, really good masseuse. You know, now there's STEM, there's, you know, those little big giant boots they put on. I don't know what it is. You know, there's MJ just had the simple thing of ice bath. You know, you just fill up a bucket of ice and you sit in it, and there you go. But the workouts, and those workouts come within yourself, because can you discipline yourself? Do you love this game so much that you'll do whatever it takes to be the best? You know, I think the biggest thing I saw, which I didn't really understand until I watched The Last Dance of Michael Jordan, and he said his coach was Tim Grover, and he said right after he lost in the finals, you know, Tim Grover came over to him and he said, you know, just let me know when you want to start. He said, I'll see you tomorrow, right after a game, after you lost everything, the season's over. He's ready to start off season right away. Is LeBron willing to do that? No. You know, and you consider, you know, Michael Jordan even has a family too at that time. And so was Kobe Bryant willing to do that? Yes. You know, and because Kobe Bryant watched Michael Jordan so much growing up when he was playing, he went to a game and watched him. And so and another thing that I thought of is when Tim Grover, his book Relentless, he said Michael Jordan paid him extra to only train Michael Jordan, to only train him. There was Dwayne Wade, and of course there was Kobe Bryant, and there's some other, you know, upcoming rising stars coming up. And he said, I'm going to pay you double, triple, whatever it is, but I only want you to train me because I don't want my opponents gaining an edge. Damn. And that mentality, that work ethic, that is what makes a champion, because they're going to do whatever it takes to win. You know, they're going to work out and do whatever it takes to be the best. When you're just tired, you know, there's definitely, I have some 3 a.m., 4 a.m. workouts, 2 a.m. workouts, and I'm just exhausted. But I know if I don't go, then I'm going to feel way worse than that, you know, extra 4 hours of sleep, you know, when I actually have to get up, you know. And so I think that's what makes a champion, is your work ethic and your mentality. Because if you don't have that, you're just going to win a couple games here and there. Yeah, you might get an award here, you might get an award there. That's great, but you're going to have no rings. You know, you're not going to know what it takes to start the season and finish the season. There's definitely going to be some up and downs, but if you finish strong, and finishing strong with the ring, with the championship in your hand, then that's what it took, was that work ethic and mentality.
It's a great answer. It's a really good answer.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I think about that and how I was raised, and culturally how, you know, brought up, for the most part, the Vietnamese experience that I went through, it wasn't, you know, it wasn't so much, we didn't grow up with so much sports. A lot of us did, but a lot of us didn't really, you know, get down to that work ethic side, that really just digging down and I'm, you know, I've noticed it in Vietnam too today, you know, when I work with my factory, or I work with, you know, that superior, like, we got to get to number one no matter what. Right. You know, that's I think it's happening more and more now in Vietnam.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yes. And it's, you know, I say this because I get so much, not really judgment, but I get this, you know, look when I mention Vietnam. And I know why, because of history, and I get it, you know, but, you know, they think of, okay, it's not a democracy, it's not freedom, you know, it's not free over there. And I'm like, no, it's capitalist. You know, of course, if you want to go like by the book of what the government type is, okay. Yeah. But when you're there and you're living like a Vietnamese would, I drive a motorbike, and I'm like, look, people will work their butt off for money. You know, I mean, who wouldn't? You know, who wouldn't? I mean, there are some Vietnamese I've met that are like, no, money is not everything. I'm just gonna go live the farm life. And I'm like,
But they're more
Oh wow.
capitalistic than Americans, I think.
I think
Yeah.
so too. I really think so too, because there's so much motivation
Yeah.
when there's money involved. They will just go after it. And I'm
They'll
like,
go hard. Yep.
wow. It's just like, okay, they're gonna do whatever it takes. And I told people, I said, yeah, maybe this type of government, but I said it's really capitalist, but you have to be there. They're definitely just going off what's on the internet, and they're going off of word of mouth, which is fine. But I've always believed you can't judge a country or their culture until you actually are there living how they live, not in this 5-star hotel and this taxi or Uber or private cars taking you everywhere. No, you can't give your full opinion
Yeah.
about a country or a culture until you've lived how they've lived. Yeah.
And I think this idea that you just talked about of champions, right? I think it's bleeding into our society in Vietnam. It's
yes,
being able to visualize like MJ or Kobe saying, we can get to medal.
For sure.
And there's a possibility of doing that. Then once you see that that could be done, then you can actually create systems to get there, right?
Oh, yes, for sure. Because the game is growing, and they're going off of YouTube. Like I said, they're going off of Michael Jordan, and they're looking at The Last Dance is on Netflix Vietnam. So I know every basketball fan in Vietnam was definitely excited for that to happen, because they get to see that. They get to see Michael Jordan. They get to see him make these moves and go up and stick his tongue out and just completely dominate. They get to see that. So then they see that, and they want to envision themselves doing that. And really, that's where it starts from. Just envisioning yourself that you can be that Michael Jordan. Not everyone who comes from the States is Michael Jordan, but keep that in mind. We are human. We are who we are. We're not Michael Jordan. Everyone wants to be like MJ, but that won't really happen. Someone might come close, but it won't happen to where you're an exact match, because God only made one, but we can work towards that. We can definitely work towards that. And envisioning yourself watching and practicing on a hoop, or practicing on your dribble on the sidewalk right next to your motorbike, right in front of your house or in front of your apartment complex. Those little things right there is what's going to get Vietnam up there with soccer, as the sport. I don't think it will ever beat it because of history. Yeah. And soccer's just always been there. But, because soccer, you just need a ball. You can make your goal. You just need your feet and a ball. Where, basketball, you need a hoop. You have a ball, but you need a hoop, or you can make a hoop, but you still need one. But it's going to get there, and envisioning yourself, the local players, heritage players, envisioning yourself that you can be that American caliber player. That's where it starts.
Speaking of envisioning, do you have, or your father have training sort of, I think videos like Last Dance or reading material like Tim Grover's Relentless? Do you have that like injected into the training camp, or is that part of any regiment?
No, only thing we've done is a tactical plan. And the tactical plan was a really long tactical plan. The tactical plan was 36 pages, I believe, like 35, 30. Yeah. And it was the regiment of what my father, Coach DJ, wanted to implement in the national team. It's really long. It is really, really long, but it's really in detail. And details matter. When you play the game of basketball, details matter. And I wouldn't say basketball, I would say, any sport. Life. Really. Yeah. Right. Details matter. Those little things really, really matter. And if you skip over those little things because you're just trying to take a shortcut, you'll see you're back at square one all the time. But it's really detailed, because that's what we need to do, I feel, as a national team. I've been able to practice with the national team. I've been able to give my input of what I think could be better. I can give my input I think is doing really well. And those details is what really matters, because we skip over them. And for me, it's like, yes, you can condition your body. What I mean by condition your body is run. That's really good. You need that cardio for basketball, no doubt. At the end of the day, we're not running track. We're playing basketball. So you got to work on your skill set, which is shooting. dribbling, passing, those little details right there. How you go up and shoot, how you dribble, where should you dribble, what angle you take, how you pass, how you make the pass, where should you bounce the pass, how high should you throw up the pass. Those little details right there is what can be implemented into the national team. And I think that's what Coach DJ can bring.
When you say a 36-page tactical plan, is it just a bunch of words?
It's a bunch of words. So it's on a document, and it's in a like booklet kind of form. I didn't know any Office Depot in Vietnam, so I had to find like a photocopy place.
Yeah,
and they did a really good job. But when my dad wrote the plan, I was like, he had to go to Nha Trang and do some scouting. So he said, well, can you take this and, just while I'm gone, just get it ready. So when I come back, I can have my meeting with Connor Nguyen, who kind of oversees the national team and basketball operations that go on in Vietnam. And I said, okay. And so I got it done, and I was like, I just skimmed through it. I was like, whoa. But it's a bunch of words, but it goes into detail what can be done with the national team.
And is it in English or is it in Vietnamese?
It's in English.
Okay, so how does the details and the nuance of this tactical plan get to the brains and the visual aspect of the players?
Well, one thing that's really good is, English is pretty commonly spoken in Vietnam, reading and writing, not just, like me, like German, I can just understand it. Vietnamese, just speaking. I'm not really, I wouldn't say interested, but, not looking right now to learn how to read and write Vietnamese, but they understand English pretty well. And details is when it comes to basketball, it's really about showing, not so much of reading it, but can you take what was those words on a paper and can you transfer that from, as a coach, transfer that to your players by demonstration? Because demonstration, they can see, they're looking at the details. When you point out the details, they're looking at the details. When you're looking at a detail, they're looking at the details. You're telling them where to look. You're showing them on the ball how to do it, where you throw it, where to go. You're looking at the backboard. Okay, when you do this, it's got to hit up higher, and the higher is the corner, how you spin it. There's so many little things that go, but that demonstration is what's so important. So a lot of, people were like, DJ, you're going to give out this tactical plan. That's something that, that's been like, 25 plus years of your knowledge of the game of basketball. And he said, not all of it was in there, but it was more focused for the national team. So not all of the knowledge is going to be in it. But he said, what makes you a good, and this is what really made sense to me, what makes you a really good coach is if you can transform words on a page to demonstration to a player, and then they can get it right. That's what makes you a good trainer. That's what makes you a good coach.
That's the magic. Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, he's right. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And the details, everything in life goes back to the details, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Those little things of waking up early, setting your alarm, laying out your clothes. What are you going to wear? How are you going to look? Are you just going to get up and just look a mess? Those little things, just, pay attention in life. And I think the biggest thing for me, what's got me such a long way, is smiling. It doesn't take much to smile.
Yeah.
I've heard so many people tell me, your smile is so, rejuvenating or so like energetic and excited. And I said, I always tell people, a smile and a firm handshake, looking somebody in the eye, those three things right there can take you a long, long way. When you say hi, you smile. When you shake somebody's hand, you're firm, you look them in the eye. When you're speaking to somebody, you look them in the eye. It's those, those, like we said, those little details right there. It's like, okay, genuine person, or, they mean what they say, or, they have this light to them. I tell people, just smile. You're going to be okay. Just smile.
Shout out to Kate Park. When Kate Park and I.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I loved meeting you guys. I'm so sorry we couldn't do something that day.
Oh, no.
But oh my gosh, it was so much fun. Yes. Yeah. Shout out to Kate Park. She's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you for, she brought it all together with us. And
yes.
When we came down to see you, that was what we felt, that, the smile and the firm handshake and the Ao Dai, the yellow.
The Ao Dai, yes. I know we can't see the full outfit, but I have on one of my favorite ones, the white one. So yeah, I was like, I wanted to share, that part with somebody who's Vietnamese. I'm usually around a lot of Americans, because I'm here in
Mm-hmm.
San Antonio. So, and we're in Ao Dai, and they just like, they go crazy. They're like, oh my
Tell me
God,
about your
what is this?
connection with the Ao Dai. Like, give
Yes.
me the.
So yeah, I'm an Ao Dai collector. I love to design Ao Dais. And so I'm on my 16th, 15th Ao Dai. And so I've been collecting ever since I was 18. So any chance I got, either in Hanoi, Da Nang, Nha Trang, and of course Saigon, if I was able to get there, I would definitely just go order. And so my tailor, she tailored this Ao Dai. She's
Mhm.
my favorite one. But here's what's really cool about her is she doesn't speak any English. And where she lives is somewhere you could probably never find ever. I think it was just fate and our bond that I was able to go back and find it, because I met her through a friend. And so I said, wow, I really like how she makes Ao Dai. So I said, well, let me go back. And so I was like, okay, I searched through the address. I was like, oh my gosh. And I finally found it. And then I got there. And so she saw me. She just like kind of broke down in tears because I haven't seen her in a year. And so I went there and saw her, and she speaks no English. So how we communicate is very, I wouldn't say bizarre, but you have to be, maybe a little bizarre, but you have to be, just kind of that, you have to have an open mind. And so the measurement is just to the T, exactly how I like it. How long it is exactly how I like it. A little long in the back, a little short in the front, but still long is just exactly how I like it. So she does a really good job. And I tell people, I said, look, that's my tailor. I can give up the name, but I don't know if you're gonna find her, because where she does everything out of her house. And just being so honored and blessed that she let me into her home, because that's somebody's sacred privacy place.
Right.
And she was able to create this Ao Dai. But that's my favorite tailor. I go to her as much as I can. And because of COVID, I really wanted to support other vendors and other tailors that were struggling, because of course Vietnam is on lockdown, as
Mhm.
we know. And those international tourism, they haven't been able to get business. And I felt so bad. And some of my friends were on the border of closing down. I said, look, I'll order 4 Ao Dais from you. Okay. I said, give me some time to pick out the fabric. And of course we'll do the measurements. And I said, but I always tell my tailor that's in the, I wouldn't say jungle, but somewhere, I tell him, I'm always coming back to you, and we don't use Google Translate, none of that, you know? And so usually it'll take me about an hour to order an Ao Dai. And that's before measurements.
This makes me think about so clothes, and I think you mentioned you have Ao Dai line that you have been thinking about.
Yes. Yes. I'm going to launch my Ao Dai company in December. And so we're running into some obstacles because the Ao Dai is so unique, and the craftsmanship of the Ao Dai is what's really important to me. The quality will always be there for me. Quality is so important to me, but the craftsmanship, and what I mean by craftsmanship is, because the Ao Dai is pretty snug. You don't really see any loose Ao Dais. You don't really. You see them kind of snug. And so when they're snug, because they're custom made, that's where the obstacle I'm running into. So there's different ideas that I have, that I'm like, okay, well, this is how we can share it, with the American culture. Because that's really my biggest thing
Hmm.
is, if I try to launch an Ao Dai company in Vietnam, no way I would succeed.
Yeah.
Just because there's so many of them, and there's so many cheap ones, and well, cheap quality ones, I should say. And so, but if I bring here to the US, not only do I get to share that craftsmanship with the American females, but I get to share that, look, this is the feel of a Vietnamese woman, and I'm Vietnamese American. I want to break that barrier of American, or it's an Ao Dai. I want it to be, okay, look, I'm going to McDonald's, I'll wear an Ao Dai, you know?
Hmm.
It's not because I'm going to a gala or I'm going to a party, a really upscale party. It's not none of that. It's something that you can wear, that you can share, and most importantly, that you'll look beautiful in. That's really my biggest thing, is bringing that to the American culture as much as I can. Of course, there's the crop tops. There's, I want to show all of this. I want to, show all that. This is more of a conservative look.
Right.
And I want to, because I'm mixed, I'm a biracial person, I want to have that mixed aliyah. Of course, I want to have the traditional so I can share that. But I also want to have that mixture of American trends and fashion with Vietnamese aliyahs. And I want to mix that together because then that represents me, And so I've had a couple designs here. Here's soon I'm going to model my first ever design that I did. And so I'm really excited, kind of nervous, but I'm really excited because I've never shown this. Never. People are like, I explain it to them and they're, oh, that looks cute. I said, no, you got to see it.
From my understanding in sports, sometimes the guys that are and the women that are participating in the actual sports events don't make the money's great, but sometimes it's really in the sponsorship deals. Mm-hmm. What is that climate like in Vietnam right now?
As we speak today, yes. It's a very dry climate. And I mean by that is COVID really, there was a lot of budget cuts, so that's definitely understandable. But for a Vietnamese player, let's say they're on the national team, and let's give the men's for an example, and they're going to make most of their money. They're going to make more money than they do in the female side, just playing basketball. But they're going to make even more money outside of that with endorsements and sponsorships, like you said. That climate for the men's side is really, really good. Really, really good. Because now that Vietnam is growing, those basketball fans, they see somebody that is on that, big stage, for the Vietnam national team. For the women's side, it's not so high. It's not so hot. It's more of like, oh, okay. Now, and I can say that, and I say this from a business side. I'm studying international business. I do school online, and I play for the national team. And I say this from a business side because, and in sports, if you're not winning, you're not going to get no money. It's just what it is, It's just what it is.
Keeping it real, yeah.
If you're not winning, because no one wants to support a loser.
No visibility.
Right. There's no excitement for it. There's no like, oh yeah, like if we sponsor this, then this is gonna get well known. And that's just what it is. And I hate to be so blunt. I was like,
true.
I'm trying to put it in a different way, but that's just what it is. And so for the women's side, because losing is been so accustomed, losing is the norm. There's no expectation. Okay, yeah, the women are gonna get silver, because maybe they might run into the Philippines, or they're gonna get gold because Philippines lost these players. There's none of that. There's none of that talk. It's like, okay, just go because we have to go. Not because we want to go, or no, the girls are gonna make some noise. The girls are gonna put Vietnam on the map. There's none of that topic right there. I think the men's side have a little bit more, but the men's side, they do have an American coach, Coach Kevin Yerkes, and so it helps a little bit because then he teaches those skill sets. He teaches those skill sets to those players. So not only do those national team players have that local discipline and mentality, okay, I got to get this done. I'm working hard, but they have a coach that can teach that American, skill set. That's what's so important. And that's what people, really don't realize is when you have that, you're going to be better, and of course the men's side, they have the VBA. There's no women's VBA. It's just the city team. But, the men's side, they have the city team, the national tournament, and they have VBA and they have ABL. ABL has been kind of shut down because of COVID, which is, that's been a lot of leagues so far. But, ABL is the top, then it's VBA. Then I would say, it's actually ABL, national team, VBA, city team, anything else under that.
Right. And
so, the men's side has it more, but, this past SEA Games in 2019, they, won bronze 3-on-3 and 5-on-5. So, there's definitely some potential business that can be done to where a business is going to be successful if they sponsor the men's national team. What they see for the women, we have to work for it, So we have to really work hard and put our head down and get it.
That makes perfect sense, right? I mean, if there's this excitement, this love for, attending a game, then,
right.
The big brands or the corporate side, they're going to see,
right.
the attendance. They're going to see
Exactly.
the numbers go
Yeah.
up and pour money
Yeah.
into sponsorship deals.
For sure. For sure.
So
And
exciting.
yeah, it is. I'm really excited. And, I've never really looked at, a lot of people say, oh, you're looking at the endorsement part. You're like, of course, bills have
Yeah,
to be paid. That's just life. But
absolutely.
I said, I'm not going to go about it. I'm not going to approach it in that way, because then I'm not loving how I'm not speaking of what I'm about, and what I'm about is for the love of the country. It means a lot to me to have this opportunity to represent Vietnam, because now it's like my grandmother, those sacrifices she made to get to the point where she is now today. It's like rewarding for her, when I'm doing this, she feels so rewarded. There's a smile on her face. There's hope. There's happiness. There's the biggest thing, excitement, and I'm really, kind of bummed that it has to be this late in her life. I wish it was definitely 10 years, 15 years
Yeah.
earlier. But, at least she gets to share this moment with me, my bangwai. She gets to, my bako, my great grandmother, she's still
Mhm.
alive. She gets to share this with me as well. And my family in the village, they follow me as much as they can. They get to share this moment with me as well. And that really is where I feel so rewarded, so just butterflies inside that,
Yeah.
I get to do this.
But when the sponsorship deals and the corporations see it, that is also a big gift
Yeah,
to
it
the
is. It is. Because,
economics of Vietnam.
right. Because then, they get to see, okay, we have Vietnam is doing this. There's a female doing this. And I never approach it as I'm an American. No, I'm Vietnamese American. I'm not gonna shut out my dad or my grandfather, on my mom's side. I'm not gonna shut them out. I'm still gonna include that in there as well. But we get to do this together,
Yeah.
especially at a climate like this where there's the Stop Asian Hate, it shouldn't even be a hashtag. It should just never even enter somebody's mind. But it's a stepping stone for us to get better, to come together. We're gonna be in this together. We just had this COVID. I know everybody's just like, oh, what's going on? Just kind of, going cuckoo a little bit. But if we just kind of relax, Buddha Bible meditation a little
Mhm.
bit, what Bawai suggested, then, we kind of refocus and we go forward, and then we can be in this together, and that's really the biggest thing for me.
If you were to imagine Vietnam 10 years from now, women's basketball, what do you see? What do you visualize?
I see greatness. I really see greatness. And because we get to, for me and my teammates, we get to pass down this mentality, this work ethic, this torch to the younger generation that want to play, because the younger generation is looking very bright for Vietnamese players, and even some here in the US and some in Vietnam. It looks very bright. And I want to lead them by example. I want to set that example. I want to inspire them that, look, if you keep working at it, you can definitely be the best that you can be, especially in Vietnam. And I think Vietnam is going to be one of those sleeper countries where
Mhm.
you just kind of sleep on it. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever.
And then boom.
Losing's the norm. But no, we're going to make some noise. We're going to do it professionally. We're going to do it, kindly. But, when we step up on the court, it's just basketball. We're going to play.
Who are the young Vietnamese or young talent that you see here in the United States? Are there Vietnamese women that are playing basketball at a level that you think that we should pay attention to?
Yes, there is one that I've been recommended by twice. I don't know her name, but she's in ninth grade, so she's got some time. I would say she's got maybe about 5 years, 6
Mhm.
years, hopefully 4 years, and so she's interested in playing with the national team. But one thing she has to understand is school, because I think she's growing up in, from what I understand, she's grown up in the States. It's always been, if you play a sport, you want to try and get a scholarship to NCAA 1, Division 1, 2, or 3. And that way you can play basketball and, school is paid for. So if she has that goal in mind, which I think how she plays, maybe she will, But everybody's different. Maybe she has plans to go play for the national team right after high school. But if she does, then I think it would be really good for her. She definitely has talent. Everyone, is telling me, oh yeah, but she's small. I'm small too, and I said ninth grade, she's probably going to grow a little bit more. But, she has that talent there. It's definitely there. I hope she can, get her passport. If she doesn't have it, let's get that process started right now. And so, my passport was a while, but, let's get that started now. So then that way, when the time comes and you want to play for the national team, then you're good. That's really my biggest thing. But I don't know her name. I'm so sorry. I don't know her name, but she's in ninth grade, and I think she really does have potential.
Speaking of passports, you stay in Vietnam for a certain amount of time. I mean, what's like the visa, citizenship? Like, what's your status on all that?
So I do have my Vietnam citizenship. I have two passports. I have an American passport and I have a Vietnam passport. But it took 5 years to get my Vietnam passport. Now, this is why, because I wasn't born in Vietnam. I was born in Germany. I wasn't even born in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of threw off something. I have a U.S. passport, but wasn't born in the U.S. And when we explained it, I said, and I was actually born on German soil. I wasn't born on American soil. I was born in a German passport.
Do you have a German?
I do not have a German passport because at the time in Germany, because it was just like 2 years ago, you can now have dual citizenship in Germany. So I wasn't gonna, my parents weren't gonna, have a child with the right, exactly. And so both my parents had U.S. passports, so they said she's gonna have a U.S. passport. And so, and then my mom wasn't born in Vietnam; she was born in Japan, but she was born technically on American soil,
right?
Because of military. And so, she got her passport, but Vietnam saw Japan, so what, what's this? And so that took a while, and then my grandmother, my Bong Wai, she had her birth certificate.
So lucky.
So that's really what saved me.
Yeah.
She had her Vietnam birth certificate. Once she had the birth certificate, that's all she wrote. I was definitely just open doors for everything. And so that's really what saved me. She kept her birth certificate.
Because can you play on the Vietnam team without being a citizen of Vietnam?
No, you cannot. You have to have, because, when the national team director explained it to me, I technically, I'm a citizen and I can play on the national team and I have the passport. But because I don't have a card, he was trying to explain to me, I don't have a card of Vietnam, which is basically like paying taxes, because I don't pay taxes in the Vietnam because I don't have that card. That's where it's a little bit different, and I think you have to be born in Vietnam in order to get that card. If you have heritage or blood, you can get your passport, no doubt. And so depending on what your other passport is.
Right.
So there's some countries like, I think maybe Sweden or, I think Sweden, you can't have dual citizenship. And so they've actually have one player that's there. I think he's Danish, so it's maybe not Sweden. Some country there, around there. But he has a Danish passport, but he cannot get his Vietnam passport.
Wow.
And I know, and Vietnam could really use him too. So I'm like, dang, he's tall, and he's built. I'm like, oh man, definitely use that. But it depends on what the other country is. U.S., they allow dual citizenship. So if you do not have your passport, your Vietnamese passport, and you're an American, you don't have the citizenship, you cannot play on the national team. You need your passport.
That's why you were like, talking about the young woman, the ninth grader. You're like, work on it now.
Yeah, work on it now. I think
I was like, I was so confused with that. Like,
she'll be okay because for me it was I'm 25% Vietnamese, and so I'm not even like half. And then my mom wasn't born in Vietnam, and then I wasn't born in Vietnam, and so I wasn't even born in the U.S. And so that was even like, it just threw so many people off. And so, but what I saw from video, she is full Vietnamese. So it's gonna help.
But
it's gonna be
And her birth certificate is like the save the day.
Yes, that was like the golden ticket, you know, Willy Wonka and them, golden ticket. And yeah, it just saved me, you know, it really did save me because I'm like, what am I gonna do?
Wow.
And I'm like, I can prove it. I have my grandmother, my Bako still lives in the village, you know, there. And so she had to fill out some paperwork as well, my Bako. And so when she filled it out, as soon as we asked her, she just filled it out right away. And so she filled it out, sent it to the police, and then the police sent it to immigration.
Yeah.
And so, and then I had the birth certificate. So yeah, it was good.
You know, I look forward to the next few years of, you know, whether you're playing for the team or you're managing the team or you're coaching the team. I look forward to the manifestations that you are going to be putting into the universe for Vietnam.
Yes, I'm really excited. I want to be there as long as I can. You know, for those who don't know, I actually do live there. I have an apartment there. I go back and forth, really, because I have family here in the U.S. And so I don't want to spend too much time away from them. But I have an apartment there. I drive a motorbike. Make sure you're safe, though. It's really fun. We'll make sure you're safe. You have to be safe. But it's really fun, you know. And I for me, I did not want to live too much of like a Westerner or a foreigner. I said I want to live as much as I can as a Vietnamese, because then I can understand the culture even more than what I do now. And that was the biggest thing for me. I don't want to take a Grab. I'll take a Grab sometimes. Like I'll take a Grab bike. I think that is so much fun. It's actually more fun than actually driving the bike, because you get to see more. You know, when you're driving, you have to pay attention. You can't just like veer off and look.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
When he's driving, I'm on the Grab bike. I'm just like all over the place. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that building was there. I drive by it every day, you know. And it's those little things for me.
Yeah.
Living there is understanding the culture is so big to me. You know, like cats are everywhere. I'm like, someone lost their cat, but you know, they eat the rats. So
it works
that helps out, you know. Right, it works out. Yeah.
I hope to see you. I hope this is the first of many episodes to hear the development of basketball in general, and then in specifically women's basketball in Vietnam. I hope to have you back on throughout the next few years, and it's exciting. It's really exciting.
It is.
Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Yes, Ken, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so sorry we couldn't do it while I was in Los Angeles.
No, this is perfect.
This is really good. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mailee.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good one.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Vietnamese with Kenneth Nguyen. The Vietnamese is produced by Brittany Tran and Javier Proenza. Special thanks to Jane Nguyen, Catherine Nguyen, Tina Pham, Sydney Jamie, and Crystal Trin. Please find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Vietnamese Podcast. You can also find us on YouTube, where you can subscribe, like, and comment. Please rate and give us a review wherever you find our podcasts. Thanks again for listening.